Uh, just just to give a brief note, on July 1st, 2023, Google will kill Google Universal Analytics free version. So how does this affect your brand, website, and app? So to talk about the session, we have our eminent speaker, Mr. Sanil from Iris. Sanil is a Forbes author, a digital entrepreneur with over 15 years of analytics, data, digital, and product development experience with major global brands in the customer retail, e-commerce, manufacturing, automobile, luxury and fast fashion, travel and tourism, real estate investments, and restricted marketing verticals across North America, WEA, and MENA. And Sanil is also an angel investor, startup advisor, marketing and technology consultant. His first venture, MopMe Wireless, is one of the most successful student startups. He is a co-founder of Iris and MopMe Wireless. He holds an MBA, strategy and entrepreneurship, and a BTech in computer science from Cochin University. So I welcome you, Sanil, to deliver the session.
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you for the intro. I would like to quickly give an overview of this presentation first, and I would like this presentation to be much more engaging. So I would not talk a lot about the presentation too much. I spend about approximately 20-25 minutes running through the presentation, and if you have any question, just feel free to ask on the Q&A. I'll try to answer as many questions as possible, because this topic itself has got a lot of technicalities. I encourage you to type in your questions on the Q&A. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sanil. I'm based in Pennsylvania, so it's quite early for me, but I'm pretty sure that you guys are almost 4 o'clock, going ready to go to home. So I'm not gonna spend too much time, because we have already given some introduction. So I've spent about 17 years in fact in digital marketing analytics, and I've served a lot of customers in mainly in 4 industries, but in several other industries too. We have been partnered with a lot of organizations. We are a Google certified partner, HubSpot certified partner, and then I also authored Forbes as well. So what is going to happen? On 1st of 2023, if you are using a Universal Analytics free version, I'm just highlighting this here. If you're using a Universal Analytics free version, that will stop processing data. What does that mean? From July 21st, if you go to Universal Analytics, you would see zero users. That's what is going to happen. But would your historical data remain there? Yes, it's going to remain there until January 2024. So approximately you have about 88 days left as of today. Now, this webinar is not a how-to guide, but like I said earlier, I would like to encourage you to type in your question as much as possible. So we will try to answer the technical question in details in the Q&A. So key agenda. I'll go through the history of Google Analytics and what happened to your Universal Analytics, how you can switch to GA4, or the key benefits and challenges that you may face in GA4. What is the kind of stage of migration look like? How you can historically back up your historic Universal Analytics data. And finally, and most importantly, this is going to be a bigger animal in this whole journey, but I think there are quite few documentation out there, videos out there that can help you aid in this BigQuery integrations. So what's the history look like? So the Google Google Analytics has launched in 2006. Then they in 2012 actually they launched the SDK, which is for mobile as well. But at the same time, on 2016 they acquired another company called Firebase. Now, in fact, GA4 is being derived from the data model that's been used by Firefox. So that's where the actual data model comes from for the new Google Analytics 4. Maybe you are not aware, maybe you are aware. This GA4 is launched about 3 years ago, but adoption has been pretty low to minimal. Because it's a little bit complicated than Universal Analytics. Part of two reasons. One, basically, the product is still not completely ready. And second reason is basically it's much more technical than the Universal Analytics that you use today. So like I discussed, on 2023, Universal Analytics data processing stops. Your historic data will be remaining. What does that mean is like any data before the July 1st, it should be available for you to be backup, stored somewhere, can be done until you have about 6 months from July to do that. And then on if you're using a 360, the good thing is like you have one more year to manage the migration. What does it mean for your brand? So you've been running a lot of advertisements, a lot of campaigns to acquire customers, right? All the data that you have acquired, it will be lost if you don't act now. That includes the customer acquisition, behavior, conversion, how your attribution, how it looks like, etc., etc. If you are not having this data backed up somewhere for your further analysis and marketing, what is going to happen is like you're going to spend much more money on your marketing acquisition. You don't want to do that, right? But the good news is that if you can act fast, you can securely migrate this GA4. You can run GA4 and GA3 in parallel. One of the challenges that you're going to face with GA3 and GA4 is that you have to inform your, there are a lot of stakeholders who may be reading your report, whatever report that you have been, sending to the stakeholders. You need a little bit of education in here to understand what's the difference between GA4 and GA3 data, because fundamentally you would see a discrepancy in data between GA3 and GA4 because the way that the data collection is being done in GA4 is fundamentally different from GA3. I'll go through that a little bit more detail later. So what is the Google Analytics for? This product is designed fundamentally for the cookieless feature. So what is a cookieless feature? Like, as you are aware that third-party cookies has been dropped by pretty much, most major browsers except Chrome. That includes Safari, Firefox, Opera, so on and so forth. So what is a third-party cookie? Third-party cookie is a cookie that if you are running an advertisement campaign and you are running on your site, then that cookie that is used to track the user journey, behavior, etc., that's called a third-party cookie. If you don't have that thing, what is going to happen is like you don't know the visibility of how the advertising perform on your website. That's a challenge that you're going to face. So, but GA4 is designed in a way that you can solve a lot of those challenges in itself. And then this focus is, the GA4 is focused on user-centric measurement. The modeling of data is based on events. Earlier in GA3, it was based on session. So you start with the session and everything else is nested from the session, from the user. So user comes in and then a session start. There is also session concept here, but the difference is that everything that happens on the GA4 is event based. So if a page view happens, that's an event. If someone download a white paper from your website, that's an event. If someone comes and request a contact us, that's an event. If someone do a transaction on your website, that's also an event. Why they unified that? The earlier challenge with the events that were like, there were only few parameters that you can track. But for a business, there is quite few that you may wanted to do as part of one thing. That's where this thing comes in. This event where you can have n number of parameters, you can create as many as you want. Then this data collection is much more unified. I'll explain that a little bit on the next slide, a bit more on that. And then one of the cons of this? This is not an auto upgrade. You may see a pop-up as you go through your current Universal Analytics. If you are migrating that using that tool, you may end up with a lot of errors, a lot of data discrepancies. That I would suggest highly against it and then do that manually, just because that itself has got some challenges. So I would do a proper way. That's to me is a manual way. Audit your current tags and then migrate it properly. Technically, GA4 is much more complicated than Universal Analytics, because the way it is being done is that the raw data that you're gonna have, it's directly available for you. So that means that you have to query using the Universal Analytics data. using the GA4 data, sorry. And then another thing is like historical data storage is limited. Earlier, you could run the report for, 3 years, 2 years, and 18 months and so forth. The maximum that you could do is 14 months here. By default, that will be defaulted to 2 months in your admin settings, but you can change that to 14 months. But the data that you may get for 14 months, it depends upon how much traffic that you have. That is all those kind of things that may come into play. But the raw data that you get, you need to back up somewhere. That's the only way that you can get your historical data properly managed in GA4. And product is still a work in progress, so you may not see everything that you would see on a GA3. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Universal Analytics is basically based on a session. You come on a user comes in, the page use one thing, and that's connected to the session. Custom event is another one. Purchase is different one. They are all different types of data model. But GA4, everything is an event, whether it's page view, custom event, purchase, or whatever it is. It's just an event. I'll show you the data a little bit later and how that's raw data looks like. So what is the this? I was talking about user unification, right? With the GA4, this is fundamentally much better compared to Universal Analytics. You can track across different type of devices, different types of browsers, and all those kind of things can be done. So if one user comes through Safari and another same user comes from the desktop on a tablet, for example, through a Chrome, you still can be it still can be tracked them across as a user journey. How does Google does that? It's basically based on 3 signals. One is called the Google signal, which is basically anybody who has got a Google account and they have accepted for ad personalization, they use that as a way to track the user. And then second, basically user ID. I think you may be aware, some of you may be aware about it, or earlier it's a concept that's already available in Universal Analytics. It's basically if you have a SaaS product where the user comes in and log in every day, you have a user ID that you can use to track across different devices. That is what is a user ID. Then third one is called a device ID. Device ID is basically the ID of the device. So that is also used for unifying the data. That's how GA4 unify the data across different things. Then the GA4 account structure, as you may noticed earlier, with the GA3 there is multiple views that you can make, but GA4 does not have that. It's just as simple as property. That's it. So if you wanted multiple subdomains to be tracked, that needs to be tracked across a property. There is something called a roll-up property, which is a little different way to track this mechanism, and you can definitely look that online to kind of understand that. I'll kind of show you an example, a report here. This is a GA4 report. Fundamentally, they ignore about this. This is basically because mobile app reporting can be done through this games reporting. So fundamentally, there is life cycle. Life cycle is basically the user journey of your users. That could be anything from starting from your site, acquiring through some campaign that you run, whether an email campaign, organic, or paid campaign that you ran, and that's where the acquisition comes in. So it has got information about how you acquire users, and what's the first channel group that contributed to the acquisition, and then how they interact on the site. This is how the traffic acquisition is. Basically, the fundamental difference between the user acquisition and traffic acquisition is basically it tells you how the page views and everything that's fundamentally tracked across on a site. Then basically engagement. This is similar to your behavior in Universal Analytics. This is where user comes to your site and what happens after, like what are the pages they are visiting, what are the action they are taking. That is what it is. So you can see that there are different types of events are here: contact us, outbound clicks. A lot of those things. And some of them are can be tracked by default, but some of them needs to be tracked through a tag manager. Again, these are all reports that you can analyze to learn more about your behavior of your site. And then this is where you can fundamentally see the e-commerce. We don't have any e-commerce data, but I'll show an example later with another account. And let's go through the admin. There are a few areas that I would like to discuss a little bit. One, basically, with the GA4, you can unify your data. What is unification? You can add if you have a mobile app, one on iOS and another one Android, and you have a website, all the users can be unified using data streams. So you create new streams for each of it and add it here. What Google is going to do is like it will unify the data and report it for you. So you know your exact visibility on different devices, how it looks like. Earlier I explained how they unify the data. This is where you need to do that by adding your stream. So if you have mobile apps, make sure that you add a new stream and unify data here. And the remaining magic is done by Google. Then here is where you can create a custom audiences based on your users. Then here I wanted to quickly go through some settings here. So this is what I was saying about retention. Data retention usually is defaulted to 2 months. Make sure that you are defaulting to 14 months, at least that you have 14 months of data inside the Universal Analytics. When I say 14 months, it's 14 months prior. That's how it is. And this data may not be 14 months for some users because of the traffic that you may have. It's all based on the hits that you may have. So like I said, make sure that your Google Signal data collection is switched on. If you don't do that, then the unification of data may not happen. Then another thing is so you can add internal traffic in here. Let's go that. Okay. You can manage your event here, but I usually manage everything through Google Tag Manager. So I would recommend you do that way as well. So I would always manage through Google Tag Manager. I'll quickly show you how you manage this through Tag Manager. So let's get into it. We just yeah, this is how you set up a migration tag. So you go here, so go to the data stream, you select this. There is something called a measurement ID. This is what you need to use to track your property. So this is for web, and if there is 2 more things out there for mobile app, then you will have a separate measurement ID for that. So here I would also recommend that you turn off some of these things because you're going to track that through Tag Manager. I highly recommend using a Tag Manager to do that. So I wouldn't just turn on everything. Some of these things, the scrolls, outbound clicks, site click, that you can turn it on. Form interaction has got some, if you're turning it on, there are some duplication that happens. So there are several report of that. So I suggest that you turn off that and use Tag Manager to manage form tracking. So this is a measurement ID that you use on the Tag Manager to track track your users. Website, let's see the GA4. Let's go to the. So let's dive into how a migration step look like. This is kind of a rough framework on how you should do the migration. Before doing this, there were one question that's I've been receiving this quite a lot, whether you can migrate your Universal Analytics to GA4. The answer to that is no. It's because, like I said, the data collection mechanism is different. So you cannot just migrate that to GA4. You cannot take your Universal Analytics and send that to GA4. That's not possible. However, what you could do, you could send that Universal Analytics data to BigQuery and then create a Looker Studio and connect that together to read report. That's one way to read your reports, but you cannot fundamentally compare or fundamentally send the information from Universal Analytics to GA4. So this is the stage look like. Your preparation plans should identify who are the key stakeholders, what are the key activities and deliverable that is going to happen as part of the migration, and create a migration checklist. And this is another important thing. And as you may serve a lot of North American and European customer, you need to have a data governance plan. What is a data governance plan? A data governance is basically there are a lot of regulation out there, CCPA, GDPR, etc. So how you collect data that needs to be properly documented, informed. If user requests certain information, you need to provide that data to users. So you are legally obliged to do that in Europe and in California. So there has to be a mechanism for that usually should have a data governance person, and under that there will be data backup plan where the data is being stored, what data is collecting, how the documentation of data is, what are the cookies that's being used. All of that would be documented properly, so that if a user requested, you need to inform the user. So that's what your data governance plans look like. The second thing is basically identify new KPIs. If there are some KPIs that you wanted to track where you were not tracking, you identify that at this stage. And that's basically a mix of business KPIs and marketing KPIs that you may wanted to do as part of GA4 migration. Then second thing is basically how your account structure should look like. There are certain things to be aware that there is only property, there is no view in GA4. So you need to structure your property in a way that you can report your subdomain tracking or different things that you have. And then how you're going to agree your data unification. I discussed earlier, how are you using user ID? Are you using are you enabling Google Signal ID? When you are enabling Google Signal ID, are you adding that as part of your terms and condition, accepting that if you're serving serving customers in Europe, because as part of GDPR you need to get an opt-in for that. And then basically where the data is going to store, the raw data that you're going to get, where it's going to be stored. It can be stored in BigQuery, it can be stored in a Postgres SQL that you can host, or SQL, MySQL, or any SQL database that you can host yourself. The key thing is like make sure that those databases are properly up and running, you manage properly, so that the data stream that you're sending should be able to accept it as well. Then basically this is the next step is design and implement it. Based on the KPIs that you defined, based on the audited tags that you had on Universal Analytics, then prepare the plan. That may involve a lot of data layer configuration, how user ID is being integrated, and plan plan for data layers. That involves a lot of involvement with the developers. That's where a little bit of development is required, but a lot of things can be done without much help of a developer. And then finally, most importantly, testing and QA. Once the tags are published, then you need to audit your traffic, compare against GA3, compare against your conversion with your CRM, with your CMS CRM, or if you're using an e-commerce store, you may have sales numbers there, clarify that and find out why certain things are not working. You may not get the 100% accuracy because of a lot of things. User may have disabled certain things on their browser. So there are certain things, but I would say, like, if there is anything going below 10, anything go below or above 10%, then you need to take a caution. What is happening? Why is it? Are there duplicates that's happening? Are you creating tags that is already tracked by GA4? Make sure that identify that and then solve that. That's where the QA comes in. And then, like I said, discussed earlier, you need to have a data backup mechanism. You can have a BigQuery, which is a default integration, and then other cloud that you may have. And finally, and most importantly, you should also consider server-side tag management. I will take this the server-side tag management as a separate topic, but fundamentally, it's mainly to own your data instead of triggering things and sending information directly to publishers like Facebook, Google. You can take that data to your own server and then send the information only that is required for the that's what is called a server-side tagging. So how there are the things that can be used. So there is some template that we have created which enable you to almost look like Universal Analytics. These are Looker Studio template which we will send as part of post webinar, which you can just deploy it on your site, and then you will see the report similar to what you used to see on GA4. This is basically after the migration. Basically, you don't have a lot of familiarity with GA4, then this report may help you. What is going to happen with your Universal Analytics data? So there is a couple of different ways. Based on your need, you can either store the data either in a Google spreadsheet, and then use a Looker Studio template. You can connect that data with your existing GA4 data to read the report together. But fundamentally, that's one way of doing it. But another way that you can do is basically use. There are two plugins available. Either use a Google Analytics plugin that you can download, and then or you can use Supermetrics plugin, which is a little bit more expensive. But I think the majority of users should be able to do that things using Google Analytics. And the second thing is basically send this information directly to BigQuery. There is no direct integration for Universal Analytics 3 to BigQuery, but Supermetrics has got a plugin that enables you to do that. So, so what are the different platforms and tools that you need to consider? The data connectors include Supermetrics, Analytics Canvas. This is a good product that you can consider. I think in an average that will cost you about $300 monthly. But the good thing is, like, it will alleviate your problem of data storage, processing cost. BigQuery is a demand-based pricing. So what it means is basically the more processing you will have, the more processing cost you will get. That's how it is designed. But Analytics Canvas, the good thing is, like, there are two benefits. One, basically, it enables you to have a fixed price for your data processing and management. And then it also enables you to not write SQL queries and use their drag and drop systems to do that. You can do a lot of those using Looker Studio, but Analytics Canvas is a bit more easier compared to Looker Studio because it's bit more simple to use. Then data storage, BigQuery, Postgres, MySQL, anything can be used. And then Analytics Canvas also enable you to store your data and process from there. Then the platform that into consideration, the Marketing Cloud, Looker Studio, Tag Manager, GA4. So are there now you're questioning, are there any alternative? There are alternative, but each own have its own advantage and disadvantage. These are few major platforms that you can use. Mixpanel Amplitude is mainly for SaaS products. Mixpanel is mobile apps mainly, but you can do pretty much everything, web and mobile. But the cost will will be something like this. It may vary a little bit based on each type of customer, but that's kind of an average that you can expect. And the most I would say, like from the compliance perspective, regulation perspective, and data perspective, the best among all these is basically Adobe Analytics. But again, Adobe Analytics needs a lot of additional package to buy, so may not be an ideal solution for a lot of the users. And then finally, GA4, the paid version is about $12,500 monthly, which comes with a lot of things, including storage and everything. Now what I wanted to say is, like, you don't have to reinvent this wheel. We have gone through this a lot more, and we have some framework, some open source project which is available out there. You can use that from using our site. You can go to our site, and definitely you would be able to see all these things that we discussed on this presentation. And I also give about, like, six meetings monthly for people who have questions and have got some trouble. Again, I'll be, I have my calendar available, will be shared with as part of the post-migration, webinar. Yeah, that's about it, the presentation. I would like to answer the question, as many questions as possible now. Yeah. I'm gonna open few additional things here. Do we have any questions so far?
So far, no, we don't have any questions so far.
Sanil, I have a question. In fact, what do you think that how far is GA4 complying to our GDPR and other regulations?
In reality, actually, I think I did have that slide in here. Maybe you have not noticed it. It is not actually a GDPR compliant product, actually, because it based on where your data is stored. That's where GDPR compliance may be, maybe a little bit tricky. So if you're a European customer, if you're serving a European customer, this GA4 technically is not a GDPR compliant product, because you don't have a permission to store where your data is, which is against a GDPR. So if you're using a 360, there is a way to do that, but in a regular GA4, it's not a GDPR compliant product in itself, unless you have a way to store your data and select it. It is not possible. So in that sense, and Adobe has got its own mechanism to do that. So that's where I would put I put a compliance a bit more in here for Adobe Analytics. So GA4 fundamentally is not a GDPR compliant product.
So you mean to say that Adobe can cover that?
Adobe can cover that, yes. You can select your data where it's going to be processed. All of this can be done through Adobe Analytics, yes.
Okay.
Sanil, there is a question in the chat. Do you have any Looker Studio template to import UA4 data?
Yeah, Looker Studio template to, do you have a Looker Studio template to import a UA for data?
Is that question clear, or
is it GA4 data?
Anupam, can you unmute? I'll unmute. You can directly talk to the speaker if you wish.
Hello.
Um,
GA4.
Anupam, can you talk now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yes.
Yeah, I was
So,
asking.
do you have a
Repeat.
looker studio template to import Universal Analytics 4 data? Do you mean GA4 data or Universal Analytics data?
The thing is, the old data to the new.
Do you have a
No.
looker studio for GA4 is that so there is two templates that we have. One is a Universal Analytics, one is a template that you can use Universal Analytics to report from spreadsheets or Google spreadsheets or BigQuery. We have two templates available. One is for GA4, which is basically the template that we were discussing here, this bridge that is available on, I think that's available on our website to download. And then second is template is basically, once you send this data to a BigQuery or, or your spreadsheet, then we have another template that is also available to read the data. But you cannot use this Looker Studio template to send the data. It can only read data. Sending data, you need a plugin like Google Analytics, Supermetrics, or things like that.
Okay.
So you first send that data and then use one of our template to do that. So I think it's available on our website.
Okay, fine. I'll look into it.
Again, I wanted to reiterate one more thing. You cannot send Universal Analytics data to GA4. It is not possible, but you can read data and connect it together using a template. That's how you should interpret. And you would definitely see about some percentage in traffic numbers, user numbers, etc. Usually GA4 would be under less than Universal Analytics, but some cases it may be different. But that you can expect.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other question?
Sanil, if I can ask, I just wanted to know from a learning perspective. Now, this is GA4 now. So do you want to comment on anything that the businesses or people who are using this to be mindful when they are migrating?
So I think two things. Two things that that you have to be careful. One, basically, if you are using your Universal Analytics to report it today, then you need to align your stakeholders that there is a change that is happening. Because of the change, the numbers will be different. So there is a little bit of education that you need to do from your reporting standpoint to make the difference in numbers to be understandable, because the change that is happening. That is one thing. Technically, there are a couple of other things that you need to consider. One, basically, don't just use the auto migration feature that is that is given by by Google. There is a pop-up that comes in on your site if you're using a Universal Analytics data all the time. Don't use that. I would do that manually by using Tag Manager and Analytics. Create a new property, and always create a new property, and then report to both Universal Analytics and the GA4 together. You have about 2 months now, so you have every time that is available to educate your stakeholders. So make sure that you do that manually and report both data together and inform and educate your stakeholder about the change. And the numbers will be different. You need to inform that the data modeling is different. That's why the numbers are different. Going forward, GA4 is going to be the standard reporting that mechanism that you're going to use. Those are the main things that you need to consider. Then technically, the third things that you need to consider, how your data storage is going to be. You never had to deal with data storage with Universal Analytics, because there is always data available in Universal Analytics. But Google is giving away that free thing. They wanted to charge users who are using it. That's why they enabled a BigQuery and provide your raw data. I'll show you an example of our how the SQL data looks like. You all see the screen. So we have so here is the data schema of GA4, and if you look at here, that is how it is being reported. Everything is an event, and everything has got its own information. This is what I mean by as many parameters as you need based on the type of event. You can add hundreds of events if you wanted to. This is a raw data, and you can use this data to report your data beyond 14 months, right? If you need data, like we have some days available here, you can report using this data or directly using the report in here. So 14 months after this, you don't have the ability to report the current data, right? So you need to you probably have to use a BigQuery. You can use a Postgres or a MySQL that you can host yourself. That's also possible. But fundamentally, there is a way to store your data. That's not a free offering that Google is going to provide you. So you need to consider how this is going to be managed. I would always recommend this. And if you're a big user, I would user that has got a lot of traffic, transactions, etc. I would use some other mechanism as well, because the processing cost will vary based on your traffic, how you are processing data. If there are multiple stakeholders using your report, then there is a limit to query as well, so that the cost will shoot up as well. If you wanted to fix that cost, then I would suggest tools like Analytics Canvas, or your own server, multiple servers that can accept the data. That's also something that you need to consider. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thanks very much.
Any other question? So I'll show you the the data that we have used, and we have sent that to BigQuery so that we can query report. So this is the Universal Analytics 3 data, which is GA3, which sometimes called as Universal. See, you have the data that is taken from your current analytics and backed up in here, so that you can use this data forever, so that you can connect this data and this data together to read report. That's how you can manage data, manage your reporting or analysis, etc., etc. So two ways that we did it. One using one using the Google Analytics plugin, and then Supermetrics plugin. Supermetrics plugin allow you to do 6 months data at once. It allows you to do more than that, by the way, but I suggest that you do 6 months data backup each time. You don't have to do every day or every month. That can be done through Google Analytics plugin or Supermetrics plugin. So and you can send that data to somewhere, to some cloud place, whether you host your own or by default BigQuery. If you're a small client, I would just use BigQuery, because it is not going to cost you much, because I think there is about BigQuery cost. Think about 1 second. I think for pretty much small customer, on-demand pricing. So 1 terabyte of query processing is free. So that's even if it's an on-demand. So for small client, that would be more than enough. But if you're a bigger client, then bigger website, bigger mobile app, then you may, because 1 terabyte may not be enough, because based on the query that you may have, it can increase. Think about that. Think about every day you are using the report multiple times, so it will cumulatively add up. Yeah.
You're done with the questions, I think. No more questions.
Okay. So like I discussed, I'll provide my my contact information And there is a calendar booking as well. If you need any consultation, how you can do, are you stuck on certain things, are you have got any specific question that you need to know, more than happy to answer your question offline as well. Once again, thank you very much. I know this topic itself is a little complicated, but I hope you have received a few things from the presentation that I did today. Thank you very much. All right.
So I would request.
Go on.
Sorry, go ahead, Dinesh. Sorry.
So I would request Mr. Vivek to say the concluding remarks and close the session.
Sanil, you wanted to say something?
No, that's
Okay. So thank you, on behalf of NASSCOM, in behalf of World Trade Center, on behalf of everyone who are gathered here. Thank you, Sanil, particularly for waking up very early today and joining us from the US. Grateful to all what you have shared with us. So participants, as Sanil explained, the GA4 is a very powerful tool that can help us gain a very deeper understanding of our website users and also to optimize our online presence. GA4 is sure to offer a more flexible and advanced approach when it comes to web analytics. So we encourage you to explore GA4 further and start leveraging its capabilities. So, and also to remember to continue learning and keeping up to date with the latest trends and updates in the field of particularly web analytics. So you can follow NASSCOM and WTC pages for events of similar nature and also for other events. And I once again thanks to Sanil for sharing his insights on the topic, and thanks to NASSCOM for organizing this. And once again, you all have a wonderful evening and look forward to seeing you for our future webinars.